Hi, I'm Ole from subphotic.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how I EQ backing vocals. That's right, the vocals that are in the background of your lead vocal. Wider, deeper, darker, brighter. I'm going to show you how to cut and boost at the right times and at the right places. And this will make your vocals sound wider with more punch, more grit, more energy and more exciting. And if you want a complete checklist on how to mix vocals, you can just download it for free. The link is in the description. And the next time you're sitting there mixing vocals, tweaking, over mixing or what have you, just refer to that checklist. So without any further ado, let's dive in. When it comes to backing vocals, I usually use 3 processes. So the first part is to cut whatever we don't need. And this we do by using an EQ. I've already panned them, as you can see. When I work with them, I tend to take off the panning just to hear what I'm doing in both ears. It's annoying to process the sound in only one ear. Just hear the beat with the backing, only the backing.
Fuck step for it.
Okay, now we want to push this back in the mix using an EQ. I normally tend to use Pro Q3 from FabFilter. For the sake of this video, I'm going to use the channel EQ from Logic. It's the stock EQ. And the first thing I will do is I will engage the high pass filter. I will play back and listen, and I will tweak as I listen.
Fuck step for all upon the socials.
Okay, as you can see, it's quite a lot to high pass. I don't regularly do this on a lead vocal. This is way too much. On a lead vocal, I would take away maybe the first, I don't know, 20-30 hertz, not more. So for a regular vocal take, it will be something like this. But since it's a backing vocal, I would take it up to, I think, 200 hertz, maybe 250. It's all about listening and what's needed for the track. We don't need stuff down here for the backing track. You won't hear it either, so it will only serve to mudden stuff up. And then I will do the same thing with the low pass filter here, or the high cut. Let's see, let's engage it. And I go easy on the high cut or the low pass. 6 decibels per octave is more than enough. And let's see.
Socials, small talk, on hold. Ansträngt som astma.
Yeah, I think that's okay. And finally, I will use a sharp bell and use this boost, sweep, and cut technique. I'll boost it up 10 decibels just for the sake of it. Regularly, I'll just go 5, but you know, for the sake of the moment.
Fucker.
Okay.
Step for jag väntar på livet.
I don't like that area.
Scroll upon the socials. Control. Small talk. On hold. Kapgang och allt.
You hear that ringing sound? Let's listen again.
Jag väntar på livet. 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 Jag väntar på livet.
So you hear that ringing sound? Now I've turned that down, and let's listen to the difference.
Jag väntar på livet. Jag väntar på livet. Jag väntar på livet. Jag väntar på livet.
So, as you might have heard, if you have some good headphones or studio monitors, you might have heard that there's a ringing resonance in the 2.7 kilohertz. And now I've cut it about 4 decibels. That's maybe a bit too much. You always go easy, cutting and boosting with the vocals, unless you want special effects, of course. And this is backing vocals, and it doesn't matter so much if it's a bit crazy. Lead vocals, on the other hand, is a lot more precious. This was step 1, taking away the frequencies that we don't need. Now, for step 2, we are going to create some width. And of course, we have 2 backing tracks, more or less similar. You see there are some differences here, some differences there, but overall, it's the same thing. But in 2 different takes. So you should always have backing vocals that includes 2 takes at least. If you have only 1 track of the backing vocals, you should use some sort of stereo widening plugin to make it stereo instead of mono, and then you can treat it as a stereo source and do some fun stuff. But first, let's create some width. This is where panning comes to play. Just pan them to each side, and I will copy this EQ, and let's try. Beautiful width. Right, so let's make it even wider using the EQ. We have the same settings here as on the last one. Now this is the right channel, the second take. Let's do something different on this EQ. Let's take away more of the bottom end. Let's see, here we are, here we have it. Let me grab you. Here we go. Oh, pila. And let's add some more high end to compensate. Okay. Now listen up. Scroll upon the socials. The principle of creating width in a mix is always to make the left and the right side as different as possible. The more differences you have on the left and the right channel, the more width you'll get. You can't have the backing vocals too wide. But you should have them wider in the hook, for example, or vice versa. So there's a difference between the chorus and the verse. Let's take a look at the last step, which is to add some presence to the backing track. Now, again, I'll depan it so it's dead center. I'll mute the main vocal. Scroll upon the small talk. I've depanned and made it dead center. I have muted the main verse and put on another EQ. Now for this EQ, I'd like something with more grit, something a bit more interesting sounding. Logic has this vintage EQ collection, which consists of a console EQ, a graphic EQ, and a tube EQ. And for vocals, I tend to go with a tube. This is an emulation of the classic Pultec equalizer. You can do the Pultec trick, which is to cut and boost at the same time. Let's see. We will boost in the 10K area. A 10 means to dampen or to cut, and boost, of course, means to increase volume. Let's see. I always use extreme settings when I'm trying out, especially when I can't see a spectrum analyzer on the EQ, such as this one. So let's try. Okay, nice one. It made it a bit more silky. Let's go over to the other one. We are, of course, going to treat that one as well, but this time I won't copy over the same plugin. I will choose another plugin with another vibe. Let's see if I can take the console EQ, which is a Neve emulation, I would guess.
Jeg venter på livet. 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 Jeg venter på livet.
Okay, let's see how they work together now. Now, as you can hear, before making any judgment calls, there's just one fundamental thing to address, and that's a mistake I just did. I didn't gain stage it properly. If you look at this one first, let's see, just solo it out. You see it's peaking at 9.4. Let's turn everything off and let's see what happens. Okay, this isn't actually so bad. It's 0.5 difference or so. Now let's look at the other one.
Jeg venter på livet. Jeg venter på livet.
Now this peaks at 4.3. Let's turn off these two.
På livet. Jeg venter på livet.
And up again.
På livet.
So we have almost 3 decibels in extra added gain, much because of the drive, I think. I can lower it in volume right here, or I could use a gain plugin afterwards, but I'll just lower it a bit.
Venter på livet. Jeg venter på livet.
Okay,
Jeg venter på livet.
much better. Almost a telephone voice I got there. Let's see now.
Andre menneskers tidsforbruk. Jeg venter på livet. Andre menneskers tidsforbruk. Jeg venter på livet.
What I will do on this one is to cut the panning in half on both sides. Let's go 40. I think it's enough, so that when the hook comes in, it's even wider. Which one of these three things do you think resonated most with you? Was it the extreme cutting in the low or the highs? Was it the presence boost? Or maybe it was how I made the backing vocals sound wider. Let me know in the comments. And if you have any other questions or comments, just hit me up. And before you go, remember to download the free vocal checklist that I've linked in the description. It's absolutely free and you can use it as reference when you're sitting there mixing your next song. Right. Finally, if you like videos like these, please hit the subscribe button and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!